What is up, guys? Wraith here, Graybearded Gaming. We are in the middle of nowhere. We have trudged all the way out to the Eastern Plains of Karana. There's a couple of old school camps out here that we're going to check out. The first off is right actually at the bridge from when you zone in from North Karana. And he is right in front of us here, and it'll be Squire Wembley. Now this little guy is out in the middle of nowhere, kind of by himself. Got a couple of little stray guys up the hill. If we stay down here, we should be fine. But there's no other guards around. There's nobody else that's going to mess with us or kind of aggro us. This guy is one of those guys he's like I said, he's out in the middle of nowhere. He's mostly undefended. And he's a level 20, so it's more of an experience camp than anything else, right? It's not going to be a big time, gold farming camp or a lot of plat farming camp or anything like that. It's a one shot, one kill. Then you sit down and wait for him to spawn up. If you're doing really, really well, occasionally you can pick off some of the stragglers that go by. There's not going to be a ton. Again, you just saw like one of the bigger shadow wolves go by. But there's not a ton in this area. And if you go all the way over this way, in a thisly direction, I believe that's where the Reavers are. Maybe we'll check that out. We're definitely going to do a couple shots at the old Squire here. And then another camp that we're going to check out in this same zone will be on the other side of the zone, which thankfully this is one of the smaller of the Karanas. It took us a while to get out here. I was going to make one of the travel videos, and I was like, you know what, my free music doesn't last long enough to make that run. It just took kind of so long to get out here. But if we go straight across the zone, we'll see if it's still like this. I know some of these zones have been slightly changed, slightly upgraded, updated, however you want to put it. But there used to be a lot of good spiders right here at the base of the ramp that goes up to High Pass Hold. We'll see if those guys are still around over there. It used to be a pretty good camp, for anybody who could solo. Druids would do it, mages, anybody who can handle it. They're spiders, I mean, they can poison, but it wasn't too bad. But first things first, we are going to pick a fight with this guy. Now the Squire, and we might actually time it up pretty good here. We'll get him pulled while he's starting to lose his buffs. He is a cleric, so he will buff himself up immediately upon spawning. Of course, the other trick with this guy, of course, and it's one of the things that we've kind of seen in this level range anyway, right? We're going to have some resist here, some resist there. The pet is not going to be able to stand in front of this guy, so we're going to want to do some fear kiting here. Get the dots on him, tee him high, let him fly. We're not going to worry about trying to pull anything extra right now. We're just going to focus on him. But we're going to get him off to the races. We're going to sit down, make sure we get our Allure of Death rolling here. Oddly enough, our fear is worn out, and he actually stayed on the pet, which I did not expect. So let's get him moving in the other direction again, so he's not just pummeling our pet. So the trick with him really is you want to catch him before he gets all of his buffs on. He has less hit points, less armor class. Your pet will do more damage to him, and he won't have all the armor class and the additional hit points. As soon as he spawns, he'll just immediately start to buffing himself. So what we want to do is kind of pick him off early. Again, this is one of those camps that's a little bit more laid back, a little bit more, AFK style camp, where you're going to get, kind of one shot, one kill. You're out in the middle of nowhere, like you're not going to get a ton of cash. Probably should have seen actually where our experience was. So we'll start at like 3%. There's a little bit of bonus on the server right now, so that might throw us off by a little bit. But this was one of those camps that if you're not worried about faction, if you're not worried about things like that, you can sit out here mostly on your own in a relatively safe spot and not have to worry about much. And if things do go sideways, if things do go bad, you're right by the zone. You just run down the bridge and off you go. Now, we did get a couple buffs for the run out here, yes, for so, and you kind of get the full complement of druid buffs and everything. But mostly it's, get a sow to help with the travel time. It really should be the only thing you need on a good fear kite. You'll send him off to the races. Did get my timer going to kind of see what his spawn time is. Again, it's some of the things have kind of been dialed in and changed a little bit. I know from a classic server, we get some interesting graphics cutting from the bridge over here. Looks like they got whoa, hello, he is up already. That I did not expect because we just finished him off. So obviously that has changed a little bit. But either way, he could still be generally just considered an AFK camp because you pull one, you kill him, you sit down, you med, you can kill him again. So I'm pretty sure that has changed since the days of the classic server. We got him all dotted up. We got him feared. Can he spawn again? I'm pretty sure he's like an every time spawn at level 20 kind of guy. So let's see. We're at 3% experience now. We'll see what we're looking like when he kicks the bucket. He's off to the races. Got the dots. Got the pet. So he won't come back and cause any more problems for it. And you see how much faster he goes down when he doesn't get the additional buffs on, like the straight hit point buffs. So 2.5% experience in one kill, which is pretty solid. Actually, that time he actually dropped a plat, which was not bad at all. So, I mean, some decent experience, right? The chance for, actually, again, surprisingly more plat than kind of thought he would. You're going to take the faction hits. You're going to. Like, if you're going to sit here and whack this dude, this is what's going to happen. But as we've just discussed before, one, not really worried about faction, especially in the case of this kind of server, right? Where, I mean, I'm going to go through the plane of knowledge. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to have to run around the world and deal with these old cities that I get lost in anyway. But we're going to sit here, beat this guy up for a little bit, and see kind of what else we figured. Again, that was a really fast spawn time, so I have to break out my timer and kind of see what the spawn is. But either way, if he's spawning that fast, that's an AFK camp with a bonus, because as long as we stay at a distance, he's not going to aggro us. There's nothing out here that's going to mess with us this close. He won't engage us unless we engage him. Again, as you can see, it's blank for miles, so to speak. You got that dude out there. Got a couple of random roamers, but I don't see where he's ever going to make it out that far, and I don't think Sir Morgan ever walked up this far. Oh, he's up again already. This camp might pay serious dividends here. If he's going to spawn about as fast as we get mana to kill him again, it'll be just a perfect AFK camp. So again, we're not even back at full mana yet, which is just outstanding. And he is again right back as a blue mob. Get the fear. He got his buffs up quick though. The dude does not mess around with those buffs, which is just kind of slows down killing him a little bit. But again, with nothing else around point blank to really worry about, it's just not that big of a problem. So we will get the fear on him. Go the other. Nope. Do not want. There we go. All right. But yeah, I mean, you can see the difference between when he gets those buffs on him and when he doesn't, how much faster he melts. And again, the pet's not going to tank him very well. The pet's just really, again, they don't tank anything really well unless they're just smaller than they are. But we'll make sure here he'll be kicking the bucket imminently here. The last time was, 2.5% experience, which is solid on a per kill basis. So if that holds up, we're looking to shoot up to about 8% experience here when he. Oh no! He got the heals off. We weren't paying attention. Came out of the fear and the snare. Got the heals. Again, he is a cleric, so that's what can make him irritating, because he will stop and heal. So there's a null reaver up there, but those guys, they're much smaller than I remember being, so they won't even be a problem for us. So let's keep to working on this clown here a little bit. Keep the dots on him. So I don't think he'll be able to save himself this time. It should just be, I believe, in. Oh, he's still trying for it. Man, he is casting those spells super fast. Take a hike. So yeah, he's actually run us out of mana this time. This is going to be comical. And the speed by which he is casting his heal as soon as he gets loose. Not going to give you the chance this time, champ. Stay feared. So there we go. So his loot table's kind of all over the place. Got a Malachite that time. And nothing really spectacular on that. I got a gold. I think last time we got like a plat. But yeah, I mean, he's worth a pretty good chunk of experience. And as you can see, there are some things to worry about, obviously. I mean, the guy, he is a cleric. He will buff himself. He will heal himself. In that time, I just kind of took it for granted that the pet was going to get him. You definitely want to make sure you keep him controlled until he, hits the deck. But we're going to sit here, beat this guy up for a little bit, and see, any kind of updates to the loot table. I think the experience again is pretty solid. Keep a chance with the experience. We're going to grind away here for a little bit, and then check back in a bit, and maybe check out the spiders. But we'll be back here in a bit, guys. All right, gang, we are back. We are now on the other side of the Karanas. Earlier, of course, we were over here near the bridge in Northern Plains, or excuse me, the bridge to Northern Plains. We are in the Eastern Plains, and we were beating up Squire Wimbley for a little while. Again, pretty decent experience. Loot tables kind of all over the place. Pretty fun just to sit there if you want a nice, be by yourself off to the side. Fear Kite, he's your man. Now this time you can barely see my little arrow way over here to the farther other side of the zone. And what we are doing over here, well, at the moment we're actually hiding from a hill giant because that is one of the perils to this side. Obviously you can see the big hills, the little mountains right over there on the side. Now our soul wore off quite some time ago, so we don't have that. We are actually over here for the spiders. Now, not the carrion spiders, because these guys are the small, chumpy guys. See, we do put a kind of, he's like level 12. But there's another species of spider over here that are substantially larger. You'll figure at the moment there just doesn't seem to be hardly any of them up, which is kind of amusing, because normally this area is crawling with them. There's one. So it's the crag spiders. The crag spiders run around up here. Like I said, they are still nice and dark blue to us, even at level 21. There's a couple more. Like I said, they just kind of roam in the area. Now that we've been up here, of course, one spawns down below us. Now these guys, it's a relatively simple fear kite when you can get them by themselves. What you have to do, however, is make sure you get them by themselves. These guys will socially aggro off of each other. So it's typically a little safer to bring them further down, get them by themselves, and fight them down there. They've got a pretty nasty poison on them and a pretty high proc rate. As you can see, like the second time you hit the pet, he pinged him with that poison already. Pretty high proc rate on the poison. It's not the worst thing on the planet, but it does sting, and it can definitely slow down your mana regeneration. But a pretty simple fear kite. They don't have a ton of hit points. They do drop a ton of silks. But again, you have to be careful in this area because, one, they will socially aggro one another. And if you get a bunch of these things on you, that could really suck. Especially if they start stacking dots on you and you're poisoned all over the place. There are some perils to this area as well. And as you can see, 2 spider silks, a couple spider sacks, and some spider legs. So generally right now everything's looking okay, but you got to keep tabs when you're in this area because hill giants roam through here. We've already seen one just when we were walking over. There's also the occasional the griffins, and not the griffons, which the smaller ones. We can take those guys out. We have killed some in the past. It's really not that big of a deal. But the griffin himself, O-N, F-O-N, that cat is typically close to level 30. The one we spotted earlier, I think, was level 29, I believe. And he will hurt us quite quickly and just handle the situation for us. Now, this camp has its pluses and minuses. Again, like some of the other camps, you're out of the way. You're pretty much off on your own. In some servers, depending on how old the server is, this might be a slightly contested spot. Just because, that's one of the little ones, so we're in pretty good shape there. That is one of the little guys. We don't necessarily have to worry about that one. But again, it can be, on occasion, be one of the other ones. I'm actually surprised that there's not as many crag spiders around. Normally, there's more kind of in this area. But you can cruise this area, and they're kind of all over the place. They let me down right now, just 'cause I'm filming, of course, trying to show off that this is a pretty decent spot. But the one really strong parts to this camp, especially if you're mobile, you get a sow, you can move around pretty quickly, is that these guys can drop a lot of silk. You can stockpile some silk pretty quickly off of these guys. And there's 2 hill giants. Like, just death converges in one spot. They decided to pummel something, and that was it. So apparently the crag spiders are moving off to this side. Like I said, they're kind of all through this area. Like I said, they are indifferent, but the hill giants are not. So, I mean, there are some perils to being in this area. You definitely don't want to run afoul of a hill giant this size. They are just too big. There'll be too many resists. And quite frankly, unless you have a spirit of the wolf, you're not going to be able to get away from that guy. It's just not going to happen. He will walk you down. He will smush you. We were too far away from any form of zone line. So make sure you're keeping tabs on it. Again, the spot has its strengths. And a lot of it has to do with either trade skilling, if you want to do some early trade skilling, or again on a server that's still very classic, or like a P99 style server that's not going to go too far. You can get a lot of silks for trade skills here to sell them, if that's your racket, and you can make a pretty good amount of money just selling the silks. Like I said, as you can see, the spiders themselves, 101, it's not a big deal. It's a pretty easy fear kite. This time it didn't even poison the pet, which is pretty cool, so we don't have to worry about that. You know, there you go. He dropped 5 spider silks. Didn't really check the experience before we moved over here to kind of see where the bar is. I mean, it's pretty relatively standard with everything else, you know, in this level range. Again, at the same time, we've kind of got that bonus from the server, which will mess up any exact readings anyway. You do have to move around a bit, because as you can see, the spiders, pretty much everything roams. Pretty much everything over here roams and moves around. So there's a slightly larger Griffon there. Little annoying mucktail guys. There's some of these other, I believe the carrion spiders can actually be a placeholder for some of the other larger spiders. But a lot of things converge, as you can tell, like in this little spot right here. So you need to be really careful if you're on this side. Again, it's, you know, it's a camp that I used way back in the day. I believe the one, when the character I had that was doing it was actually a druid. So it's very mobile at this point. I had Spirit of the Wolf. I could move around, and I could just root rot the spiders kind of in place. And if anything went bad, I could just run away with Spirit of the Wolf. Again, looking at your map, you know, you're not going to run away this far to get away from one of these guys. It's just kind of not going to happen. So the other thing we might check out while we're on the side of the world is we might go dip over here into the gorge and see what's happening over there. We'll save that one, of course, for another video. There are, of course, a couple spots in here that we might visit later when we are a little bit bigger. We do have the barbarian fishing village over here, but those guys are quite a bit larger than we are right now, because they're the guards over on that thing. You're talking guys in the low to mid 30s. So we might swing back around at that point at some point. But for now, like I said, this is, you know, 2 of the better, at least better known to me, at least, camps in Eastern Plains of Karana. Each of them fear kiting. Each of them you're kind of on your own generally, except this one may be a little bit more contested for the spiders, depending on where you're at server-wise. You know, where the squire, you'll typically be pretty much on your own unless another Necro shows up and wants to beat him up. But there we go. Both of them have their strengths. Both of them have their weaknesses. You know, leave it to you guys to decide for, you know, folks who decide they may or may not want to follow along. But having said that, I do hope that everybody had a good night. I had a good time out here making a minute of myself in the Eastern Plains of Karana, and we will see you guys next time. What is up, guys? Wraith here, doing the kind of things that get me in trouble the most. We left off checking out Squire Wimbley in Eastern Karana, and then jumping across and checking out the crag spiders, and we were so close to the Gorge of King's Orb that I just had to come over here and get myself into a little bit of trouble. Now, the big lord is actually up, and we can't handle him as he's just a nice shade of red to us. But we have been able to kill the little evil eye that spawns on this side. And there you go. This one's just actually normal evil eye instead of a named evil eye this time. What we have had to keep an eye out for is, of course, the things that roam around the room will give us a little bit of trouble because they are all KOS. We were able to invis to get back into the area. And what we do have to, like I said, kind of keep tabs on is there has been, you know, quite a few of these little guys coming through, so we gotta make sure we're eyeballing around us and everything. Get the mana game, so to speak, back up. We've only done really one clear. We've killed this guy when we first got here, who was one of the names. These guys have just crazy, unpronounceable names. We killed him the first time, pretty much got trash loot. We've been able to take care of any of the minotaurs that come through. Everything's dark blue or below. Some of the Muddites are, like the small Muddite miners, they are gray to us. We've had a couple come through that are green. But, if I remember correctly, these eyeballs, these evil eyes, have a chance to drop polished bone bracelets, which was like a 3 wisdom, 3 intellect bracelet. And at this point, any upgrade is an upgrade, right? And these guys are probably a little bit more in our wheelhouse right now than trying to go through and do upper guck, which is much more confined quarters. Now, we can still get Things can still get out of hand with the quickness in here. There's no mistake about that. But we're going to try to mess with these guys for a little bit, see what happens, and we will keep you posted. And I'll probably check back in on the next video. I thought I would throw this guy right here on at the end. But here we are, getting in trouble the way we do, trying to see if we can get some upgrades. And hopefully we find something rather than another video and or picture of my little Necro face down. But till that time, we'll catch you guys next time.